Hey Void, how you doing? Told you I'd be getting back to these a little bit quicker. Well, nostalgia's a weird kind of drug. So, I finally got around to rewatching a movie I didn't even care that much for the first time. But, in my memory, I remembered liking it more than the first. And that is into the Killjoy series. Back when I was in my first year, I did a month of bad movies, and one of them that I spotlighted was Killjoy, and gave it a glowing one review, one MacGuffin review, even under my 5 MacGuffin system. It would, under the 10, it would still be one MacGuffin. Now, Killjoy 2, Deliverance from Evil, I sort of remembered. I only saw it once, not too long after I saw the original Killjoy, and I remembered thinking it was better than Killjoy, but still not very good. So it was in that vein that I watched it today. It was like I was in the mood for a bad movie. Thought, okay, we'll put out the second Killjoy movie. Knock that one out. It isn't as bad as the first. It's as bad as the first. So, Killjoy 2. I don't even know where to start with this mess. Okay, so they only tie into the first Killjoy with referencing the events through someone telling a story about it. Otherwise, this has nothing to do with it. So, this starts with a man fleeing the police, and, shoot, what was his name? I just watched this a couple days ago. I don't remember his name. Anyway, so he's fleeing the police, gets drugs planted on him because the cops wanted him to snitch on something, but he wouldn't, so they plant drugs on him and send him away. Next, we cut to a group of, part of me wants to say juvenile delinquents for the way they're being treated, because I don't think they treat hardened criminals this way, but it's essentially two cops taking a bunch of criminals out for community service, and our boy from the first scene is one of them. In addition, there is Ray Ray, who's just kind of a burglar, and seems to be. And then there's. I wish I had my notes with me before I started recording this, but there's another black rights activist. Note, just like the first Killjoy movie, this is almost an entirely African American cast. Not quite. There's a few people of Hispanic descent and one white girl, but I digress. Can't remember if the cops at the beginning were white. They probably were. Anyway, a black rights activist, and then a couple women. Then one girl who burned down her school, and another girl who's, I think, girls drugs. It wasn't really important because it doesn't tie into anything. So, while going out, the van breaks down in the middle of nowhere. Now, they were leaving from the inner city. I think it was Chicago. I could be wrong. Anyway, they're out in the woods, and actually, does it tell me down here where they're coming from? Nope. Well, this says at-risk youth group, so I guess they were kids. They look like they're in their 30s. Anyway, right. So their van breaks down. So one of the two agents, the big tough guy one, because there's the tough guy and the girl who yells a lot. Anyway, tough guy takes the guys with him to go look for help and for a phone, because of course not. Anyway, they find a redneck lady who ends up shooting Ray Ray. Now, she shot Ray Ray because while looking around, they found a place. No one's answering the door. Ray Ray breaks in to try to use the phone and let other people in. He gets shot. Anyway, now that he's hurt, everyone's in a blind panic. They go back to the van and set off in a different direction. Tough guy stays behind, and you hear gunshots, so everyone just assumes he's dead. They all just go back, so they move out together, and then they find a voodoo woman out in the woods. I kid you not, they just find a random voodoo woman a couple hours outside of a major urban city. I don't know why. Anyway, they see if voodoo woman can heal the injured Ray Ray. But while they're talking black magic, one person tells about Killjoy, and then our main character, or I think he's kind of the main character, decides that okay, well let's call this badass guy up and make him heal my boy. And so he essentially coerces one of the girls to do the ritual. Killjoy comes, pretty much just kills everybody until he gets splashed with some random liquid and goes away. Yeah. So, let's talk about problems. First, it starts making up, I keep trying to remember his name. I think it was like, because he had shortened it. It's like Derek or D. I think they called him D. I could be wrong. Don't. If you watch this movie, don't watch this movie. But if you watch this movie, I'm sorry if it's the main character's name. Anyway, D's. You figure the drug planting thing on him at the beginning would have something to do with, well, something. But it doesn't. Like, they never reference it again after that point. He's just hanging out with them and is suddenly best friends with Ray Ray. Yeah, you can't forget a name like Ray Ray. Anyway, you have no idea how he knows Ray Ray, but he's just suddenly very chummy with him while on this trip, and is then willing to do anything, including summon a demon, to help his friend. So, and also wants to point guns at voodoo women to try to encourage them to help. You think he's so the first scene, because he's the only one in it, makes you think he's going to be the main character, but he really kind of isn't. He's just kind of a dick, and like there's nothing about him that really endears you to him, especially after he coerces one of the girls to summon a demon, and then when he's unceremoniously killed off. Why was that first scene there? Do we really need to know he was framed? I was completely capable of buying him as a criminal just because of how he was acting. He acted like a thug. And I'm not trying to play any racial cards on there. He was completely okay pointing guns at people, breaking into buildings, and going vengeance on anyone who hurt his crew. So he acted like a gangster. So if he was innocent and that somehow factored into maybe how they defeated Killjoy, I could have worked with it. But no, he just happened to get framed, but he was kind of a trash person anyway. There's only one character amongst then a couple of the characters are a little bit more endearing. Ray Ray is just kind of obnoxious, but he gets shot, and then you can kind of sympathize a little bit. But the activist is just kind of doesn't really do much, and then the girls, they are more the sympathetic ones, as well as the shouting lady cop. Alright, the acting is okay, it's not great. Shouting lady just is kind of a weak point there, because all she does is shout. So, they really didn't think too much of the premise here. They come up with the flimsiest excuse to get Killjoy into the mix. Everything else just seemed like a normal urban drama, sort of. Just not a very good one. And then just one person happens to know about Killjoy and then gets blackmailed, or I keep saying main character, though he's really not. He pretty much seems to imply that he's got drugs and will give her some if she calls Killjoy. So she does the ritual, Killjoy doesn't manifest, immediately anyway. And so he then uses it, then says that she could pay another way, and or if she offers her body instead, they have sex, and then he turns out he didn't have drugs anyway. So he's just kind of a dick. Anyway, so and his son do anything for Ray or anything. He just comes out of nowhere, so I didn't even see what chemistry they had other than them just joking a little bit in the back of a van. So there's no backstory there. Unnecessary backstory other places. Killjoy's only brought in just because of a very flimsy premise, and he's brought out of it just the same because the one person just happens to splash on something that Voodoo Lady just happened to have on her shelf on him. No idea what it was. Just grab something random, splash him, he's gone. And that was after he'd been, you know, they tried to fight him in normal means. Next, the Killjoy look. So the first Killjoy costume wasn't very good. This one, the outfit's worse, but the makeup's okay, if not maybe a little bit better. But the actor is much better than the Killjoy in the first one. It's a different actor. The voice is good, the antics are okay, the writing's terrible, but you can see the actor is trying to bring something to this. He's kind of the only part here worth looking at. And that's not saying much. This one, unlike the first one, plays out more like a standard slasher film, with Killjoy just happening upon each of the convicts in turn and killing them off. So, there's really nothing to this. He shows up, kills a bunch of people until they just decide, okay, we're done, splash him with a liquid, and movie ends. So, there's all that. But this movie goes one step farther and has the audacity to have a custom theme song. Come on, you're no Leprechaun in the Hood. Which wasn't a good movie, but it was a lot better than this. And if you're worse than Leprechaun in the Hood, you got problems. So, one of the main actresses, I think her character was Cece, but I could be wrong. She does a song that pretty much summarizes the movie, including name-dropping the characters. The beat's catchy. Her voice is good, but the lyrics are terrible. The composition of the song is not good. So, it's not even a good song. So, yeah. Why did you make a custom song? Did you think this was going somewhere, Full Moon? Did you? I know you only kind of produced this one. You didn't really have too much of a hand in it otherwise, but... yeah. Killjoy 2, Deliverance from Evil, one MacGuffin, just like its predecessor. How this went to franchise, where there's like 4 or 5 of these fuckers, I don't know. I will say number 3, I remember liking more, but I also remember that for number 2. But number 3 I thought was legitimately entertaining. They seem to actually put a budget behind Killjoy at that point, because right now there's still no budget here for this movie. Well, that's all I got on this one. Yeah, avoid the early Killjoy movies. You don't need them. Killjoy 3 I remember being okay. When I get to it, maybe I'll confirm that.